-9?
Square root of -9, it's 3i.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, because I is an imaginary number because there's no square root of a negative number. We all know that. Come on. Like, good deal. Did I pass your test? So now I have credibility. I have credibility, guys. Good deal.
Okay.
Good deal. Everybody's doing well? Everybody made it here okay? Floated in. A couple people brought their own towels. I love that. The true Floridians carry a towel with them everywhere they go. They can just wipe their seats before they go and everything else.
In Colorado, it's blankets. Here it's towels.
That's right. And there's a place out on 41, all right, that they don't wear clothes and that they will carry towels around all day long to sit on the seats. What's that place called? What's that nudist called? Whatse it called? Caliente, right? It's nudist colony. So that's not why we're carrying towels. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Just make sure we're all clear on that. All right. First of all, who is here? Obviously, you're here early, right? Because normally our 100K club class starts at 10 o'clock, so you guys are here early. How many of you have been to 100K and are just here early for that, for the investor portion? Okay, good. And how many of you here just say, hey, look, I'm going to come to this portion only, just to do the investor, and then I'm out? And that's cool. All right, perfect. Good deal. Awesome. If you get a chance, you want to check out our 100K, I'd love for you to stay some time and check it out. It's really, we're about, it'll be our 4th session now, which means we're 3 lessons in. We did an intro and then third lesson coming up. It's great stuff. I'd love to check around the room, get some testimonies.
They usually happen in Tampa, not here.
Well, we have them in the evenings at Tampa. All right, we do night in Oldsmar at a hotel. We do the days here, and then tonight I'll do the same thing in Orlando, and then tomorrow morning in Orlando. And then Thursday is Jacksonville as well. He's changed his schedule, so he wants that this video ASAP, by the way, as soon as he can. So we're doing Jacksonville tomorrow as well. All right. So here's the thing. How many guys? Any fresh out of class people? Fresh. All right. Awesome. Good. You are going to have a huge advantage here because you still remember the math. All right. Everybody else got through it. Let me just get through these 10 questions and I'm out of here. Or you said, forget it. I can miss all 10 and still pass. Then I'll forget the math and I'll study the rest. Right. I know how you guys think. So don't think I know that. Here's where I'm going to bring some meat and potatoes, some applicability, whatever, okay? We're going to show you how it works in the real world, okay?
Skipped English.
All right, that's right. I'm going to take the math and show you how it works in the real world and have something that you can actually walk away with. The cool thing about using this, by the way, we're going to use an example. I'm going to go through the analysis. I'm going to use an example of a triplex in Holiday, how we would analyze that from an investment standpoint. The cool thing is it could apply to a 30-unit apartment complex, a 300-unit apartment complex. It could apply to a Class A office space that's across from International Plaza. All right, and commercial agents know this. Now, not that you want to be commercial agents, but investors think this way. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Check it out. All right, here's the language. First of all, here's the goal. If you can talk in a way that an investor knows and can sense even slightly that you know what you're talking about, you've got them. You talk about, remember Jerry Maguire when he walks in, he's trying to get her back, and she said, "You had me at the low." All right. With an investor, you had me at cap rate. All right. As soon as they find a realtor that can talk cap rate, return on investment, do an analysis for them of what potential cash flows are going to be in the future, all that kind of stuff. Because guess what? It's less than 0.5% of the realtor population that can talk intelligently with them about that. So you can set yourself up apart in a huge way if you can learn to do this. All right. And also, the thing you can do is begin to analyze it for your people that are thinking about, hey, I heard that real estate might be a good investment. All right. And so we're going to look at it from a totally different perspective, only from the way that an investor should as an investment opportunity. All right. Now, calculated cap rate. Cap rate, everybody heard that term at least? Okay, good. All right, let's start there. Cap rate is short for capitalization rate. What it is, in essence, it's where we use it to back into a value based upon the cash flows that something creates. I used this example for the first time last night, and it worked well. So let me share it with you. All right, so here you walked in today, and I've got it here, this a machine that's covered by a tarp. All right, and you guys are looking at what's in the middle of the room, what's under the tarp, and I pull it off, and I boom. All right, and I say, this is my cash flow machine. All right, you're like, wow, that's kind of cool. So what do you mean? This machine will spit out every year $13,200. Every year, like clockwork, spits out $13,200. You say, what, really? I said, prove it. So I start spitting out some money, and you have to verify that, and everything's provable, right? So once I've proved to you that it will spit out $13,200, all right, then I ask you, what are you willing to pay me for that? What would you be willing to pay me for a machine that throws out $13,200 every year? Just like clockwork, okay? And you say, well, it's kind of risky. It's I'm not sure I believe you. It's one thing to buy, to buy Edward Jones stock and everything else, but it's another thing to sit there and look at your machine. So I wouldn't do it. Right now, I'm getting 1.5% of my money that's in the bank. So if I were going to take a risk, let's say I wanted, to take a risk, you got to guarantee me at least a 10% return on my money, right? I'm not doing it for anything less than a 10% return. And so because of that, I said, well, if you're looking for a 10% return, then a machine that throws off $13,200 a year in cash, you'd be willing to pay me $132,000 for that. Does that make sense? You ever see the math there? Because $132,000, 10% each year, cash flows $13,200. All right? Now, here's where we got a little dicey last time. What if somebody came in and said, hey, look, I've bought machines like this before, so I'm a little more tolerant of the risk, and I understand how they work, and that guy needs a 10% return, but I'm willing to do it, you know what, for only an 8% return. All right? An 8% return. Somebody do real quickly. Anybody got a calculator on their phone or anything like that? Just take 13,200 and divide it by 0.08, 8%. Okay, we're going to divide by, we'll do the math here in a second. All right, 13,200 divided by 0.08. 165,000, is that right? Okay, 165,000. So, the same machine, right? The same cash flow, $13,200 annually. This guy who's only, or gal, who's only looking for an 8% return on their money was willing to pay $165,000 for that same machine, whereas the person who was looking for a 10% return said, I'm only willing to pay you $132,000. Does that make sense so far? All right? You have to do the math to actually believe it, because sometimes, here's where it gets a little tricky. Somebody that understands imaginary numbers can get it, but somebody who doesn't, when we start dividing by a number less than 1, usually we think divide by number, I get a smaller number, right? Well, no. You divide by a number less than 1, you actually get a bigger number. So that's why we'll actually do the math together and show you. But somebody says, hey, I'm cool with an 8% return, so I'm willing to pay you. Because look, if I took $165,000 out of my pocket, gave it to you, right, and I guarantee the 8% return, a year from now, I'm still going to get $165,000 times 0.08, $13,200. Machine throws off $13,200. Now, somebody else comes along and says, no. 8% no way, not even 10% no way. I need at least 12%. All right, if I'm going to invest my money on a risky machine, I need a 12% return. Somebody help me do the math. 132,000 or 13,200 divided by 0.12. How much? 110. Same cash flow, right? Still throwing off 13,200, but this investor says, no way, I'm only paying you 110,000 for that. Because I want 110 times 0.12 gives me my 13,200 that this proves the cash flow. All right? That, in essence, is the whole concept behind a cap rate. You take its cash flow ability and you back into a price that you're willing to pay. Here's a mistake that most realtors make. They're going to go and say, okay, Mr. Investor, you want to buy a triplex. Let's go see what other triplexes have sold for in the within a mile radius. Okay? They go with a comparative market analysis concept that we do on a normal appraisal, right? Wrong. Because guess what? I don't care if it's next door. If the triplex next door has a totally different cash flow, it's going to sell for a totally different number. Are you with me? So in essence, what we got to get to the point of trying to do is find what's a reasonable cap rate for this type of machine. All right? Other machines like this one have sold for a 10 cap. So now I know a machine that does this, I should use 10 cap as my figure.
Okay.
Are you with me?
I've got to like etch a sketch the comp thing out of it.
Yeah, right, no, I know. Exactly. Well, here's the thing, and a comp thing applies 100% in a traditional residential real estate transaction. When you're looking at a cash flow analysis, all out the window, okay? All we're talking is cap rate, return on investment, how that thing goes. We will work through it. Cool? All right, so everybody got the big picture in mind? Now, yeah.
The CMAs and the BPO approaches that some of your agents are using to do these short sales and whatnot.
Yep.
The BPO does not have the ROI stuff involved, but the appraiser has that information.
Yep.
So if your buyer is looking to that, the appraiser is the one they want to really go for, not the BPO.
Good point. Okay, and here's the other thing, is that most real estate that you've dealt with in the past, right, has been traditional residential real estate. And what does that mean? You're going to use the CMA approach. Cool. Appraisals all have it on there. What's the rent factor in the area? You know, you're looking at an appraisal. I know you guys get the appraisal and all you care about, the NME price. All right, what's the adjuster? Oh, we made it. All right, and that's all you care about. You never really analyze. Next time you get an appraisal in, analyze it. All right, there's an art to that, and they go through all these gyrations. They include some of this stuff in, but they don't put any weight on it in a typical residential appraisal. If they're doing a 20-unit apartment complex, that's all the weight they put on it is all based on return on investment and cap rate. Cool? All right, we're going to drive it home. Here we go. So the logic is we're going to create a value based on the cash flow the property creates. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that machine and we're going to replace it with a triplex in Holiday. All right, that's all it is. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. So when you see investment property, you think the cash flow machine. All right, and what am I willing to pay for that cash flow machine? Cool. All right. Follows the logic. You invest the same amount of money market or other investment, return rate, return, that's what you do. Okay, whatever. All right, that's just a bunch of wordy stuff saying what I just said. Okay. All right. Here's our example. Here's the data you're going to need. By the way, those of you who haven't been in the classes, PowerPoints are available, so you can take as many notes as you want, but if you want a copy of the PowerPoint, my email address, if you don't have it, just email me, and I'll get you a copy of the PowerPoint. Okay? Okay, so let's imagine this triplex in Holiday. Each unit rents for $550 a month. Oh, let's go back it up. Triplex means how many units? 3. You guys, I got a good class today. All right, you guys are awesome. You guys are way ahead of last night's class, I'm telling you. Triplex in Holiday, 3 units, $550 a month. The landlord pays an average of water because they're not separately metered, so the landlord has to pay one water bill, $75 a month. The lawn care is $75 a month. Taxes are $3,000 a year. That's property taxes, right? And insurance is $1,800 a year. All right? So that's the raw data we need. Let me back it up for a second. Hold you up. That's the raw data we need. Let me say it again. That's the raw data we need. If you list a property that is an investment property, please provide the raw data we need. When I was buying a lot of investment properties, I would read the MLS information sheet, okay? They told me it had nice 16 by 16 tile in the foyer entry area. And I said, I don't give a flying flip about your tile in the foyer, but you forgot to tell me how much each unit rents for and how long the leases are right now. It's a triplex. One unit is leased through August of 2013. The other one's leased through, July of 2014. Give me the data I need. Does the landlord have to pay utilities? Is that, is it included? All the raw data I need. So if you can just start to do that, if you list a property, then they're going to tell you, say you know what you're doing. They can just tell, all right, you actually put the information in that somebody would need to analyze that property. You could, an investor, when I was buying investment properties, if I had the raw data, I never even look at them. All right, I could sit there in the comfort of my desk and crank out numbers and say, hey, look, are they properly priced based upon what I want to pay? Right? Is it going to work? So give them the raw data they need. Don't tell them about, hey, it's got a lovely balance over the master bedroom window. Okay? Great. The only thing I care about a lovely balance is if I can rent it for more because of that lovely balance, then I might. All right? But if I can't rent it for more because of that, then I don't care. all right? From an investor perspective, right? Totally different mindset, all right? Residential buyer cares about the tile in the foyer, all right? The investor buyer can care less. Cool? Agree? All right. Okay, raw data we'll come back to if you need it. I got it memorized. Calculate the annual net income. Remember this? All right, annual net income. All right? Check the NOI, net operating income. Where's my new agent? Remember that? They had to calculate NOI, right? Net operating income. This is starting to dust off a little bit. Okay, so these terms sound familiar vaguely? No? Okay, all right. 550 times 3. Everybody get that? Each unit rents for $550. We're going to calculate the gross income first, right? Gross. We start at gross, how much we get, and then we're going to take away expenses. 550 times 3 is 1650 times 12 because there are 12 months in a year. Annual gross income, 19.8. Cool? Okay, easy math. Expenses, 150 times 12. 150 is 75 for water and 75 for lawn care, right? Add it up to 150 times 12 because that's a monthly fee. Plus 4,800, 3,000 in taxes and 1,800 in insurance, right? That's the 48. We only pay that once a year, so we don't apply that times 12. Those add up to $6,600. Fair enough? Okay, simple math so far. Net income, 13.2. Hey, I'm back to that same machine, all right, that throws off $13,200 a year. Let me ask you this. In my expense analysis right now, do I have mortgage service, debt service in there? Nope. Don't care. When I'm analyzing a property for its price using capitalization rate, debt service does not come into the equation. You're assuming cash, all right? Because we're backing into a price that if I had it and was willing to drop cash on this investment, and I was looking for a predetermined rate of return based upon its cash flow, here's what I'm willing to pay. Are you with me so far? Cool? All right. Net income 13.2. Everybody buy those figures? Okay? By the way, real quickly, when you're analyzing this, verify, verify, verify. Everybody knows when you get into commercial property and bigger units, every owner of commercial property carries 3 sets of books. They do. They carry the books that they pay taxes on, which shows no income, right? They carry the real set of books, which is what you want to get so you can actually properly analyze it for your investment purposes. And then they show the inflated set of books that they want to show you and they want you to buy it. All right, so the tax man thinks it makes no money. They want you to buy it based on the fact that it cash flows $80,000 a year. All right, so it's 2 different stories, right? So how do I dig down? You're just going to have to dig to get to the real meat. All right, and make sure it makes sense. Some of it's going to just come from experience and analyzing and saying, does that make sense? They're saying these units rent for $900 a month in the triplex at Holiday, and I just did a quick rental check, and everything else out there, they're offering them for $600. Doesn't make sense. Can you show me the leases, please? All right, verify, right? Ronald Reagan, trust, but verify, always. All right, trust everybody, but verify everything they tell you. All right, that's what makes good friends anyway, is verification of that stuff. All right, so everybody got it? 13.2, good. Calculate net operating income. Value calculations. Remember I told you? Here's the math. 13.2 divided by 0.10. Remember they probably taught you in class the Irv triangle, interest rate, rate value, and all that kind of stuff. Simple enough. Take the cash flow, divide it by the percentage or the decimal representation of the cap rate that you're looking for. All right? 13.2 divided by 0.10. That's easy enough. That one makes sense to us. Here's where it gets tricky. It's where our mind starts to boggle a little bit. Then I start to divide by a lower number, and I get a higher price. All right? Our minds, it goes backwards on us a little bit. So everybody okay with that, though? Remember that the person who said, I'm okay with an 8% return was willing to give $165,000 for that same cash flow machine, right? And if someone's looking for a bigger rate of return, then they're willing to pay less. Fair enough? All right? Another way to look at it, if you want to verify the math, take 132,000 times 0.10, and you should get 13.2. Take 165 times 0.08, and you should get 13.2. And take 110 times 0.12, and you should get 13.2. All right? So, all that being said, we got a $55,000 difference in value here, right? On the same property. All based upon expected rates of return. Now, how do we analyze what cap rate is reasonable? Well, you have to think about what things are going for. Other things have sold for cap rate wise. So if you're going to do a comparative market analysis, what we're going to comparatively market or analyze are cap rates. What's a reasonable cap rate for a triplex in Holiday? Can I tell you this? The riskier and more difficult the investment, the higher the cap rate. i.e., Class A office space at International Plaza, all right, Corporate Center 1, right across from International Plaza, that has Outback Steakhouse International as its tenant, has Bonatti Eye Institute as its tenant, and has somebody who was, Hancock Bank as its tenant, and some of these other Class A spaces. Less risky, Class A space, probably a 4 cap, because the more classier this place, the lower the cap rate, right? Because it's not as risky, so therefore the cap rate goes down. The riskier your investment, a triplex in Holiday, by the way, take it from a person who has owned a triplex in Holiday, many of them, risky investments. Okay? When I say risky, what's risky about them? Well, risky about them is that tenants get arrested, and people set up meth labs and grow houses, and all sorts of good stuff going on in your triplexes in Holiday. Okay? All right? That'll never happen. Come on, you're joking. I could write a book and tell you stories all day long. Okay? It's just the things I've seen. So a riskier investment. With that in mind, I'm going to, if I'm going to take that kind of risk, and look for a higher rate of return. Fair enough? If I'm going to put my cash into that. Got it? All right. So that's the trick, is coming down and analyzing where that is. And just because you've got an investor who comes to you and says, I'm not buying anything less than a 14 cap. Okay, great. Problem is, if someone else is willing to pay a 10 cap on that same property, he's not going to buy anything. Right? It's just kind of like, hey, I want a $65,000 3-bedroom, 2-bath in, Safety Harbor. Okay, well, I want a trip to Europe every year, and I don't get it. You know what I mean? It's just what I want and what I get are two different things. So they've got to be reasonable about that. Fair enough? Okay, so now we got value. Are we okay with backing into value based upon cap rate? Now I'm going to take it a step further, because here's where it gets really good. Here's where you can actually begin to help people analyze whether real estate should be a wise investment for them. Okay? If they've got some dispensable income, and you're going to compare it to, hey, what if I just left this money in my CD that's getting 1.8%? All right? I got to leave it in there for 10 years. All right? Let's compare the two and see what goes on. All right. Real quickly, let's say somebody doesn't have the cash. Or let's say they do have the cash, they really want to be an investor, and they've got $132,000 to invest. All right? Say, great. Well, you've got good credit. Why don't we buy 5? Right? Why buy 1 triplex when you can buy 5? That's a concept called leverage. Right? Mortgages allow us to do that. But there's a great book out there called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. By the way, read that if you haven't read that as an investment opportunity. It's a great book. It's going to redefine your definition of asset. All right? Let me give you a quick definition of asset. It's pretty simple. An asset produces a cash flow. Okay? Your primary home, the one that you woke up this morning, that you have a 30-year mortgage on, and you got up and got dressed, showered, and ready to go, and you rolled out of bed, is that dwelling an asset? Nope. Costs you money, does not make you money. Yeah, but I'm developing equity. Well, yeah. I had a lot of equity too in 2007. Okay? I was loaded with equity. Then I woke up one morning in 2008 and it wasn't there anymore. Okay? Cash flow. Another example of that. My Acura A8 that I love to drive. Okay? Asset? No way. Taxi cab that I bought, all right, that I take out every morning, drive around, and I wait. I come back at the end of the day, add and put gas back in it, fill it back, its tank back up, and I've got an extra $813 in my pocket. Asset. Yeah, it's backwards, right? We think, oh, look at that's the asset. Okay, assets aren't prestigious. Assets create cash flow. Period. All right, great book. So let's say we're going to buy this asset, and we decide 132 is a fair price. We're going to put 20% down. We find a lender's going to give us, investment property always takes, you can't get zero down anymore. You could. Back in 2007, we woke up in 2008, you could. Okay, but now you can't anymore. So 2014 now, 20% down is pretty reasonable still. Might be even a little higher. Now you need 25% down. But let's just say 20% down. Everybody agree that 20% of 132 is 26.4. So now they've got 26.4 in. Remember, cash in. All right, is what we're going to analyze. Principal and interest on this. I did the math for you. Don't believe me, you can verify if you want. 30-year note at the remaining balance of whatever 132 minus 26.4 is. At 5.5% is $599.59. All right, principal and interest only. We have taxes at $250 a month, right? $3,000 a year divided by 12 is $250 a month. Insurance is $150 a month. Everybody agree? $1,800 a year divided by 12 is $150. So I get a total payment of $999.59. I actually kind of chose that. It worked out well. I like that. It sounds like I'm trying to, do it on a infomercial for you. All right, but call the next 20 minutes only. All right, $999.59. It'll be under $1,000. All right, so $999.59. Remember that number. Other $150 a month. What's that other? Water and lawn care, right? So this guy's total, this gal, this person's total investment each month with 20% down. They've got debt service plus other expenses of $1149.59. Everybody agree? Yes? Okay, I'm a nerd. Raise your right hand if you, I don't know, raise your left hand, you got that? All right. Return on investment. Let's take a look at this. Your true cash flow, $1,650, right? That's my rents. By the way, real fast, did anybody notice I left something out of our net operating income analysis? Anybody savvy enough to say, hey, you forgot to include this as an expense? Repairs. What else? What's another one that they include? Vacancy rate. Okay. And a triplex in Holiday right now, you can rent it all day long, twice on Sunday. Okay, you really can't. You just keep, By the way, I went on the triplexes in Holiday. I tile everything. All right. I'll tile the ceiling if they'll allow me. All right. Think of go into a Taco Bell and look at their bathroom. All right. Make your triplexes look like that. Okay. What's their goal? I mean, even down to putting a drain in the middle of the living room floor. Right. You just gotta squeegee everything down that bad boy, and there you go. All right. That's just. Trust me, I try to bulletproof my triplexes. If they allow me to tile the walls, I would. My goal is fire hose. You're out, you're in, let's roll. Here we go. You want carpet? Buy your own little area rugs. You can get them for $9.99 at Target. Let's roll. Here we go. So, all right, so you try and bulletproof these things as best you can. But if you get to bigger units, one thing you're analyzing, let's say you're buying a 40-unit apartment complex, there is going to be a vacancy rate. You can look at their history and say, hey, you know what? Historically, they have 7% of these units are vacant at any given time. So do you take the full amount of the 40 units times their rental? No. You do that, and then you multiply times 0.93, 93%, to get you what your average monthly income can be expected to be. Fair enough? All right? So as you start to buy bigger things, you are going to have vacancy rates and repairs in there. I'm going to cover repairs in a second. I'll show you how I did it on this one. All right? Now, so $1,650, by the way, does everybody agree? We gross $1,650. We have a monthly obligations of $1,149.59. That leaves us a positive cash flow of $500.41. All right? Not great, but better than a sharp poke in the eye. Right? Better than it costs me $500.41. Now, alternative use. Let's say that person said, yeah, but right now I'm getting 2% on my money at the CD. It's real safe, 26.4. Take that same 26.4, guess what? It's going to throw off $44 a month. Simple interest. Okay? So, is there more risk in a triplex and Holiday? Absolutely. Is it FDIC insured? No way. Okay? But is 15%, 1,500%, I should say, all right, better return worth the risk? Maybe, maybe not for them. All right? So they're getting a $500 cash flow instead of 44 bucks. Fair enough? All right, in 5 years, let's say 5 years from now, we kept the rents the same. 5 years from now, by the way, it's a good time to cover this. If I own an investment property like this, how do I increase its value?
Cutting expenses.
Cutting expenses, which in effect does what? When I lower expenses,
Increases the value.
it increases the cash flow, which therefore, remember the same machine? Let's say we kept cap rates at 10%. If I can make that machine, instead of kicking off 13.2, if I can get it to kicking off 15 grand, does that increase my value?
Sure.
Absolutely. That same 10 cap, now someone's willing to pay me $150,000 for it, right? Instead of 132. So I can lower expenses or raise gross income, right? Ideally, you do both. Raise rents, lower expenses, better net income, better value, right? Fair enough? Okay. So, what's that? After you tile it, exactly. After you tile it, tile everything, tile the ceiling, tile the floors, tile the, yeah, everything. Absolutely. After you get everything done. Exactly. Bulletproof that bad boy. All right, so 5 years, let's say in 5 years, rents go up by $50 a month on each unit. Okay, so I didn't do anything for 5 years, but I know I'm getting ready to sell it. So the last leases before I'm going to sell it, I say, I'm going to jack these up a little bit so that I can show a better cash flow to the next person buying. Fair enough? Okay, so now, instead of $500.50 a month, let's say, assuming everything else stayed the same, taxes didn't go up, insurance didn't go up, nothing else changed. Instead of $500.41, I now am cash flowing $650.41. Everybody agree? Just $50 each one, all right, times that, all right? The value at a 10 cap, you can go back and do the math. That's why I chose that $150,000. Now that same unit is cash flowing, that same machine is now cash flowing $15,000 a year. So someone, even if they wanted to pay me a 10 cap, just like I paid for it, is now willing to pay me $150,000 for that same unit. Agreed? Yes? Okay, yes?
Yes.
Right. Stop me if I talk fast sometimes, so slow me down. 500 words a minute, gust up to 750. All right, so just slow me down if you need me. So it's worth now 150. Now, let's continue on return on investment. Loan balance after 5 years. By the way, how did I get the loan balance at 9? Did I pick that out of the air? No. I went to there's a financial calculator right there in your MLS. All right. I put in 132,000 down payment, 20%, 5.5% interest rate. Put all that data in. I said, give me the first 60 payments, and it showed me that's how I got $599.59 to begin with. That's the monthly payment for principal and interest. And at the end of 60 months, I said remaining balance, and it showed me $97,638. Okay, the information's there, right? Learn how to use it. Okay, so I got a loan balance of that. I got a cost of sale. Remember, I'm going to sell it for 150, right? 6% of 150 is $9 grand. Everybody knows how to multiply by 6%, right? That's your commission people. Everybody knows how to multiply by 6%? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Joseph, my son, started learning multiplication tables. Said, you're a realtor's boy. We're learning starting with 6s and 3s. All right. You better know how to multiply by 6 and 3 like that. All right. That's our commission rate. That's what we're rolling with. All right. So we got those down. Cost of sale is $9 grand plus title insurance, doc stamps, and on the deed. All right. Running about another $2 grand, so about 11 grand for the cost of sale. Net proceeds, $41,362. Take 150, all right, minus the 11 grand, minus the remaining balance, because they won't let me transfer title unless I pay off the note. Funny thing that, right? They don't let me transfer title, cleanly unless the old note's paid off. And now I walk out of there with $41,362 in my pocket. Agreed? Okay, so I can walk out a check. Didn't lose money. Today's day and age, hallelujah. All right, I beat the odds. And here we go. Well, check this out. Return on investment. Now, here's where I get so excited about math. Check this out. What's the term I'm using? Return on investment, right? Did you know that phrase gives you the formula? Check it out. Let's go back to 5th grade math. The number on top of a fraction is a numerator. Remember numerator, right? Below the fraction bar is a denominator, right? Fractions mean divide. That thing there means divide. Check it out. Get back. Return $14,962.
And we're off.
It's not me.
Yeah.
You're still up here.
14,962. Did both go out there? All right, do the math. Ready? While you're checking on it. 14,962 divided by 26.4. Why 26.4? My initial investment, right? That's my down payment. That was actually cash out of pocket, right? I'm not using 132 as my investment. My investment was 26.4 equals 56.7%. I think it's hit the projector, I think.
Is it even on? I don't see any lights in the back.
Check it and see. I'll bring it up. We got a small enough group.
Is there a power light on?
Can you back up that map, just,
Yep, no problem.
not the last one, but how you got the 14,962?
Yeah, 14,962. If I can go back on this. 14,962 was,
That's the 41,000 minus 26.4, right?
yeah, there you go. It was $150,000 sale price. Okay. I had a loan balance remaining of $97,638. $11,000 cost of sale left me with $41,362.
That's an initial investment.
Okay.
Less.
All right. Perfect. Then I took the 14,962. All right. Which, oh, I'm sorry. Here's the question you had. Is how did I get 14,962?
Yes.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. I skipped that part. 14,962 takes my $41,392 check that I walked away from closing with, but said, that's cool, but I started 5 years ago by bringing 26.4. So I got to subtract those two numbers to show my true return was 14,000 and change. Fair enough? Does that make sense? Good. Yeah, good point. I didn't talk about that. Yeah, where do we go from there? Everybody got that? So I subtract out my first initial cash investment. Now, that's 56.7%. Do the math, believe me. All right? But that's over 5 years. So if I divide by 5, I annualize that return to about 11.34%. Okay? Fair enough? Now, that's just analyzing that from how much cash I walked away from that table with. All right? I walked away with 14,962 more than I came to the table with 5 years prior. And so over those 5 years, I averaged 11.34% return. Not bad, okay? You can talk to somebody about that. But let's check this out. We haven't factored in the $500 and change that I made every month for 60 months. Remember, I was positive cash flow. Everybody with me? See that last bullet point down there? $500 and how much? 41 cents. I was cash flowing. Times 60 months is $30,024.60. So in addition to that check that I walked away at closing with, now, trust me, I know you, I know most investors, I know people, all right? I know me. That $500 was put right in the bank and never touched, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, absolutely. That was just my investment portfolio. I knew not to touch it, and I didn't pee it all away, all right? Problem is, we do. And the other problem is that there are things that come up. The roof had to be replaced halfway through this bad boy. Okay? Now, where's that coming from? All right? So, in this analysis, what I did is I took, let's say, half. Let's say some of the times I had a month where one of the units was empty. I was getting people in and out. All right? I had to do some repairs. A septic tank, somebody shoved a diaper down and the septic system got all screwed up and whatever. Okay? All that kind of stuff. Let's just say instead of really getting all that 30, I got half of it. Now, where's that half number come from? Experience. Okay? Number I picked out on my backside. Okay? There is no analysis of that per se, other than it was pretty typical in my experience. All right? So half of that was gone. So now I've got an extra 15 grand on top of the 14 grand I made in hard cash at closing, right? I got another 15 grand of cash flow that I've incurred. Now, if I add the 14,962 plus the 15,000, all right. And by the way, I can get you these things. Did he say is he coming to try and get a?
They call her.
Okay, very good. That's fine. Good. They call. Then and divide that by my initial investment of 26.4. Okay, so the 14 that I walked away, it's raining, isn't it?
Yes.
Gee,
There's sand next to it.
What's that? Yeah, it does.
Oh, just fix that.
Oh, darn it. Yeah. 14,962 plus the 15 grand, which is half of my monthly cash flow, divided by 26.4, my initial investment, 113.5% return over 5 years. All right, so that's not, hey, look, divided by 5 gives us a 22.7% annual rate of return on average. Better than my CD? Absolutely. Just a little bit. Just like 10 times better. Okay? Riskier? Absolutely. Can you promise people this? Absolutely not. Past performance is not indicative of future credits. You go a little spiel at the bottom, right? That they always give. You talk really fast as you can to get through that part. But all you can do is, hey, here are the numbers. So somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm thinking about getting into investing. Awesome. Let me help you. And let's analyze it. Let's totally blow our mind up and blow up the whole CMA concept and totally analyze this on a spreadsheet. Engineers love this. You get a guy that's an Excel spreadsheet kind of person, and they will out ROI you all day long. You think you've got it put together, and they're going to come to, hey, I created this little Excel spreadsheet that has a formula built in, and look, I just viewed it, and I just put the numbers in, and it spits it out. They're out there, by the way. I'm sure there's an app for that. Is there a problem? Was that me? Here, I'll put it in and you back to this one. I told you now. It just shut off. Well, no. It was
Totally.
that just shut off. Oh. Was it? Yeah. It was just power.
I'm sitting in the house music.
Oh, gotcha. Look at that. Thank you, sir. You're a genius. You're a technical genius.
Are you sure this isn't the evening class?
What's that?
Got the party music going on?
I know, exactly.
This is for the meeting Friday.
They're doing a photo shoot. I think they're taking realtor photos down there, so I think they're doing that. Work it, give it to me. Come on now. Give it to me. Sell me some real estate, baby.
I'm video.
Let's get it done. All right, so there's the real numbers. And you couldn't see it before. Remember I told you 22.7, I wasn't lying? All right, it's all there. Again, you can get a copy of this slide if you want. Now, let me just rehash what I was talking about. We can't promise anything, right? All we can do is lay out the numbers and say, hey, look, in a perfect scenario, help you realize, hey, look, in this scenario, yeah, $500 a month cash flow. Realistically, Mrs. Jones, don't expect to get all that. Stuff's going to happen, right? You're going to have some vacant units. You're going to have some repairs that need to be done, all that kind of stuff along the way. But hopefully this will cover it. Now, if you did the analysis and it doesn't cash flow on a monthly basis, Kiyosaki would tell you, don't buy it. You don't buy it on, hey, but even if it's just eking by, maybe in 5 years it'll appreciate. Read that book. The book will say you never count on appreciation. Never count on it. All right? Only buy it if it cash flows today. All right? And do it in that manner. Fair enough? Are you with me there? Tax benefits. We'll get this briefly. First of all, I think I'm looking around the room. Anybody, I think I'm most of your broker. If I'm not your broker, then do what you want. But if I am your broker, don't become a CPA. Okay? Don't start giving tax advice to people and all sorts of things and investment advice and because this is not FDIC insured, all right, and all that kind of stuff. So don't become a CPA. But residential real estate depreciates over 27.5 years. In our analysis, let's say we took 100,000. By the way, why 100,000 and not 132? We bought the thing for 132. Anybody know? You don't have to be a CPA. It's not because you can't depreciate the land. You can only depreciate the improvement on the land. So let's say out of that 132, they assigned 100,000 up to be the value of the actual dwelling, and the land had a value of 32, so the land never depreciates. So you only depreciate that. But 27 and a half years, that's 36 a year. So part of that $6,000 income that we were making each year, by the way, is taxable. That's taxable income. Can be offset by taking the depreciation. So you don't have to pay taxes, as much taxes on it. All right? Fair enough? And this would be a passive loss unless you talk to your CPA about that. All right? It's a passive loss, meaning that you don't actually get to take the loss, you carry it forward against future gains, unless you can show yourself as a real estate professional, meaning that's what they do for a living. All right, I buy and sell houses and I own real estate for a living. Even though you're other people, if they don't have a license, they can make an election to become and say that's an active, this is what I do for a living. So it's active income and active loss, not passive, because I'm actively involved in it. Fair enough. Question? No?
Can you depreciate it faster instead of 30 years? Can you depreciate like 10 years?
No, the IRS sets the rules. Now there are other things. Residential real estate is 27 and a half. Commercial real estate is different. Actually, it's longer, so you depreciate slower. Yeah, I think it's 40. All right, so you actually depreciate slower. So you can't. The equipment have different depreciation rates, but you have to talk to your CPA about that.
If it's over 4 units, is it still 27 and a half?
Over 4, I think, becomes commercial, and then you have to do the 40. Yep.
Don't you have to readjust that when you sell it, your CPA would know that?
Well, yeah, and what you're doing, by the way, depreciation doesn't mean the government's not that, generous. They're not just saying, waive it. What you're doing is every year you're lowering the cost basis of that, so down the road you're going to pay capital gains, more capital gains on that. For me, though, depending on who we have in office right now, we have a Yahoo that has 20% capital gains. Thought that it was genius that if we raise capital gains, then all of a sudden that would trigger economic stimulus, and doesn't quite work that way. Actually, it works the opposite way. When you lower it, good things happen, but that's a difference of opinion. So he's at 20%, but even at 20%, it's better than my ordinary income tax rate. Okay, so I would always take that because it's better to pay capital gains, at least for right now, is lower than your ordinary income tax rate. So it's better, capital gains is better. All right, because by lowering it, you're actually increasing what your capital gain will be at the time of sale.
How do you figure in, how do you know what the land?
Good question. What I always did is, your CPA will just say, hey, what do you think? Okay, and they just it's not. But what I always did is I took the percentage that was in the tax records, because they assign a percentage of the assessed value to the improvement, a percentage of it toward the land. And let's say this thing was assessed for 100, but it was like on an 80-20, 80% improvement, 20% land. So then I just applied those same percentages to my 132. Fair enough? Good question. All right. Any other questions off the top?
If you refinance it, do you recapture the depreciation?
If you refinance it, do you recapture the depreciation? No, because depreciation has nothing to do with your financing. It's all taxes on eventual gain down the road and offsetting your income on an annual basis. You're lowering your income. By the way, well, we got to roll because we got to get into the 100K stuff. But there's probably people hiding out there that want to come in for the 100K to wait for this thing to blow over. So maybe we'll talk for another 3 minutes.
Let's step outside.
That's what I'm saying. They're waiting for it. It's gotta stop soon. I'm not stepping out of there. I'm not stepping out of there. I'll catch the video later. I'm not going to catch it now. Where are we going? Oh, that let's say you're buying more investment property. Just so you know, this is me speaking from personal experience. Eventually, these things start to add up. All right, on your personal balance sheet, if you will, your profit and loss. And you go to buy more property, they're going to look at this, does it cash flow, and they're going to start counting that against you. Just so you know, mortgage companies will add back in the depreciation, all right, even because you've written it off, but they'll add that back in because that's not a real loss. It's paper loss. So they'll add that back in as they're analyzing, hey, well, that one cash flows. Okay, so we're willing to lend you money on another triplex. Okay, so lend them money right there. Fair enough? Cool. All right, so don't become a CPA. Closing thoughts. blow your preconceived idea out the window about a CMA, right? Just take it, right, exactly. Throw it out the door on investment property, all right? We don't care. Now, if a triplex 3 streets over and 2 doors down has the same cash flow, can I use that as a comp? Absolutely. Because it cash flowed 13.2 just like mine, or close to it. It cash flowed 14 and it sold for 140. Therefore, my 13.2 should sell for 132, right? So you can use that as a comp in that manner, but not just straight, hey, it has the same square footage and it has that. Now, is it follow logic that the same square footage triplex will probably rent for the same amount of money? Yeah, probably, you know, based upon certain variables, but for the most part, you know, one happens to be on the water with docks, so are people going to pay higher rent there? Yeah, absolutely. Is it a good comp? No. All right, just like it wouldn't be in that aspect. Fair enough? All right. Everybody have my email address in case they want a copy of this? Any other closing thoughts? All right, for investors, CMAs don't matter. There's that blow up again. Okay, really don't. They're only concerned with cash flow, cap rate, ROI, and the tax benefits. And if you speak this language, I'm telling you, you had me at hello. All right, their investors will flock to you if you know what you're talking about with this. You really are. Jim.
I guess, how did you go about looking at properties that aren't investment properties currently?
Okay.
Like, how do you?
Yeah.
Do you just?
Can I analyze a single-family home from an investment standpoint? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like, because you're buying typically you're going to be buying a single-family home, or your buyer is.
Yeah.
And you just
Yep.
and they say, I want to rent it.
Correct.
It doesn't have current rent. Doesn't
Great
have that.
question.
So you just, I guess you just have.
I would analyze it from a income analysis, just like this, because I know in current areas like this, in this area, I can get $1,750 a month for this 4-bedroom, 3-bath in Safety Harbor. So I can get $1,750 a month. I know taxes are this. I know insurance is this. So let me back in and see if it's still a good investment. Now, will the appraiser use that same thing? Probably not. They're going to look at it from more of a comparative market analysis because there's no guarantee that you're going to use it as such. So
it's not as good as one
correct.
that's already.
Yeah, right. Because they're gonna put a balance between it. Even if you say I'm going to use it for investment purposes, all right, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? To them, they're going to look at it as from a regular CMA standpoint. Good question though, because a lot of times we are buying just single-family homes for investment, and you can utilize these formulas to do the same thing. Good question. Cool. Any other questions? Yes? No? Everybody got it? Pass the test on this? Okay. You say that because here's the. I'm just kidding. There's not a test. I'm not going to do it to you. We'll do it. If you need a copy of this, let me know. All right. If you have questions, Judy, was it you that last time I just emailed you this PowerPoint? We hadn't even covered it. You kind of walked yourself through it, right?
He's coming again Sunday.
Perfect. Did you sell him something before?
No, because he wants a 20%.
20% cap. Okay. You might have unrealistic investors. All right. And if you get unrealistic investors, if the 20 caps aren't there, I get it. All right. Once again, you just go, hey, you know what? You joke with them. I want a trip to Europe every year, and I don't get it.
Yeah, I actually started.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Send them the Thursday Publix ad, the BOGO.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Maybe there'll be some houses in there next
That's
time.
right. Buy one, get one free. Exactly.
I've seen signs that say, buy the house, get the land free, and I'm like, where's that one coming from?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Do it. Okay, cool. All right, let's take a 4-minute break. For those of you who are sticking around for 100K, get up, stretch your legs. This is the death of a public speaker. Never release your crowd and get them to come back. But go ahead and do it. 4 minutes.
The rain will
right?
hold them.
Come back. Yeah. Just like they're not coming in, you're not going out. Right? Exactly. Because of the rain.
You have a captive audience.